Hi, everyone. This is Colin May, and welcome to another weekly edition here of Fun Video Lecture. Got the camera on today, so hopefully it'll look nice and fun. So appreciate your being here. So this week I wanted to put together a brief presentation. I've updated it. I created this in 2010, and it's based on an article that I wrote in Fraud Magazine that was published in March and April of 2009. So thinking back, it's been quite a while, probably about 10 years since I've written this, but I think it's a really good way to introduce people to the issues of getting experience. So I call it 25 ways to get fraud or financial investigative experience. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Experience is that catch 22. You need it to get a job, but you need a job to be able to get it. And so that was one of the themes that I really started understanding from people as I was in the field. It really became this issue of how do I get the experience? Where do I go? Everybody wants to go work for the FBI or the Secret Service or somewhere like that. And those jobs just don't come along very often. And sometimes it's timing issues, sometimes they're budget issues, sometimes it's a combination of things. So how do I best get that experience and do what I need to do to gain those skills? So this hopefully will help you kind of think about some of those issues. And so what I went and did is I put together 25 different career possibilities, job, basically entry level types of places, but also things to think about in terms of internships and co-ops and other, student experiences, but also volunteer opportunities. And last but not least, and this may be one of the most important, is the networking. Because if you have a good network, those jobs are just going to kind of come almost naturally, in terms of you'll get a chance to see what's out there and who's looking for what, and you'll know people in the field, but also in that group specifically, which gives you a huge leg up. So again, I wrote this article in 2009. It was published, so I probably started working on it at some point in 2007. And again, the economy at that point was pretty bad, and we were dealing with a lot of issues economically, and so I was hearing a lot of this feedback, so that's kind of the genesis for this. Now, one of the things that I think a lot of people, again, they have this idea of, I'm going to go work for the FBI, I'm going to be a special agent, and the reality is it is so rare for that to happen. And so what I want people to really understand is that you don't have to have your dream job right away. In fact, your dream job will probably be your second, third, or fourth employer, especially right out of college. And so that gives you an opportunity to actually position yourself much better for those, what we call dream jobs, or what you seek to achieve. And again, it's all going to depend on your circumstances, your willingness to travel, your family situation, all those things. They're all different for everyone. And so what I think it's important is just understanding that it may not be immediate. And certainly we all want instant gratification, but we have to work for it. And it's really a process. So think about every position gives you an opportunity to build skills, learn things, meet new people, do that networking, which is critical. Focus on the acquisition and development of those specific areas that you need to get, in your wheelhouse on your resume. So if we just go back just a little bit about financial investigation skills, you're really looking at kind of a different set of things than normal jobs. You're looking at both the analysis of financial information, whether that's examining documents, mapping flows, identifying patterns in bank records or tax returns, detecting anomalies, things that don't look right, things that um, aren't jiving the way they should be, and then identifying assets, obviously for recovery if it's a fraud case, um, but also conducting interviews. So it's not just about the numbers or the people; it's about kind of the whole spectrum of skills. And so I think that this is a really important thing to think about, and you have to be able to go back and catalog what skills you have versus what skills you need. And are there areas that you could expand? Are there areas that you haven't done before? Um, so, for example, if you're working in healthcare field, doing healthcare fraud investigations, um, maybe in a healthcare audit, um, but you want to be an investigator, what are those experiences that you need, whether it's a coding situation or a home health or, whatever the case may be. Those are the kinds of things that you need to think about. So let's dive right in. So number one is a public defender's office. Obviously, this is a critical part of the justice system. They're often overworked, underpaid. You will definitely have a lot of experience right off the gate. They will probably not necessarily do a lot of white collar crimes, although they might, truthfully, but it will give you really good investigative experience. You will chase leads, you will go interview people, and you will see kind of the justice system at work. You'll probably be testifying, working with attorneys. It's a great way to see kind of how things run. And so that's why I think it's one of the best. Something that people don't think about often is the idea of child support enforcement, and a lot of it has to come down to when people owe money in a domestic support obligation situation that they're not paying. It really becomes about finding them, finding where they're working. Are they concealing income? Are they underreporting income? Do they have hidden assets? What are they doing? And so this is another really, really unique way to get a lot of the experience that you would. It may not be criminal, but it certainly is some really, really hands-on experience to go out and get. Number three, divorce lawyers. So this, is unfortunately a growth industry, and there are a lot of accountants who work specifically in family law matters, and I think that you'll see it's a unique environment. Again, similar to the child support obligations, you're looking for hidden assets. Income that's concealed through businesses or other arrangements, and you really do a marital balance sheet. So there's a lot of different things from an experiential perspective where these are really fantastic. And quite frankly, most lawyers hate doing math or any kind of financial stuff, so they are more than happy to pass this off. But that's a good way to really get some experience. So this is from the CPA Journal, the New York State Society of CPAs, from their May 2006 article. If you go into the Stevenson Library online, you'll be able to find some really good resources on family law and forensic accounting. Litigation lawyers, kind of same thing. Again, you're looking at criminal defense work, white collar crime, but they also do things like internal investigations, corporate investigations, regulatory compliance work. They do some advisory and consulting on internal controls and setting up policies and procedures, especially in the aftermath of something pretty significant, say a massive securities fraud or something like that. So these are, again, folks that are pounding the pavement. get some really good experience understanding the legal system, and this is on the civil side as well. Most people don't recognize that a lot of these skills in financial investigations are not really derived from the criminal work necessarily, but really the civil work is where you're going to get the meat and potatoes. So this is an interesting one because this was one that I had really started looking at early in my career, loss prevention. And basically, if you think of store security, but in a plainclothes and financial professional environment, that's what loss prevention is. Basically, they are looking both at the potential inside threat as well as the external things like organized retail crime, rings, boosting, things like that. They focus a lot on risk management, on doing very good interview and interrogations, but also integrating the technology because with shrinking budgets comes downsizing, but heavy investment in the investigators and the technology to prevent that shrinkage or that theft from impacting the bottom line of the company. So lpjobs.com is a great website, and Loss Prevention Magazine, as well as the Loss Prevention Foundation. These are all good resources to go out and explore because these jobs are all over. It's really amazing how many jobs there are in the loss prevention. They're geographically widespread, and a lot of times you have the ability to move up fairly quickly in an organization and get some really fantastic experience. So financial institutions are number 6. They could be in the security department, the fraud department, internal audit or risk management, as well as compliance with the Bank Secrecy Act or anti-money laundering. But you can also do internal investigations and looking at, legal risk management. Those are all things that play into, banks and their security. And again, banks are everywhere. There's always somebody trying to steal from a bank, whether it's internal or external. Again, you can make a fantastic career out of being a financial institution investigator or auditor. So number 7 through 16 are the usual suspects, the federal criminal investigative agencies, starting with Internal Revenue Service, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, DEA, ATF, the Postal Inspection Service, the Defense Criminal Investigative Service, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the Criminal Investigation Command of the Army, and the Coast Guard Investigative Service. So again, if you're near a military installation, if you have family in the military, these are all really great opportunities. Again, the FBI internship is probably one of the hardest in the world, but I did my internship with the Postal Inspection Service. I absolutely loved it. It was the last on my list after calling pretty much everybody else. But it was by far the best experience that I had because it really got me in the numbers and working the cases, and I had a lot of fun. They gave me a lot of great experience and good friends. So number 17 is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or OCC, which is part of the Treasury Department. These are really the bank examiners, the regulatory agencies that oversee the main national banks. You also have the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the National Credit Union Administration, and the Office of Thrift Supervision. But you also have state banking departments as well. So if you're near a state capital, again, they do the same kind of thing. They go in and they look at audit and risk and investigations and compliance. These are all the skills that investigators in white-collar crime and fraud investigation need. And it's, again, a really good opportunity to understand kind of how things work. So this is number 18 is the state and local police agencies. you have state law enforcement. This is a Facebook posting from the New Hampshire State Police, where I'm from originally, and it's really neat because I love that they posted this, and they posted them for a number of the positions that they have, but they have an internship program, and they posted kind of a feedback or a quick learning paper on the internship within the Terrorism Intelligence and Information Analysis Unit of the State Police. So you can actually see who has internships out there, what their experiences are, and what kind of position yourself to go after them. So this is just I really was excited to see this, and they had a number of positions that they did. So just really neat to see the experience and people continuing on and growing from their different experiences. So we talked about lawyers. Well, let's get back to prosecuting attorneys. Obviously, both at the state and local level, you can have district attorneys, investigative prosecutors, and offices of the Attorney General. And these have a number of different areas. The Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, for example, is one of the top healthcare fraud investigators in the state. And they do a lot of really great work with the FBI, the IRS, the Department of Health and Human Services, Inspector General's office. So there's a lot of really good opportunity within the attorney's offices. And don't forget too, there may also be special prosecutors in maybe larger states, who are attached to an organized crime task force. For example, in New York, where I went to school, there is a state organized crime task force, and a student from the college that I went to a couple years after me was an intern for them, and she had a great experience. It was a really unique environment. Same with public corruption special prosecutors. So just more things to think about. Number 20, is tax and revenue agencies, whether it's called the Department of the Revenue, the state comptroller, state treasurer, alcohol commission. They all have tax enforcement, and most of them are criminal. Some of them are regulatory, but regardless, again, these are the keys. People are always trying to cheat on taxable income, and so therefore it's a good opportunity to get exposure to the different types of investigations, the techniques, and especially the financial piece, because that's really their bread and butter. That's what they do, and so that's the best way you're going to get it. So number 21 is CPA forensic firms, and again, you can find these through your local CPA society, your local ACFE association chapter, or any number of different organizations in the local area. But again, they're going to focus on audits, forensic work, consulting. So the absolute best experience in terms of identifying the different techniques and getting some really valuable experience. That's my dog. So number 22 is the insurance companies, and they often have claims or adjustment units, but they also have a special investigations unit, or SIU as they're called, and they do pretty much everything from insurance fraud, from the insurance fraud perspective, whether it's arson, property casualty, healthcare fraud, premiums fraud, and then also vehicle insurance, which is probably one of the biggest ones. I would look at the National Association of Special Investigations Units, IASIU, as well as the National Healthcare Anti-Fraud Association. You also want to look at the National Insurance Crime Bureau, NICB, and again, all of these are really great. They'll get you some good experience and good exposure. So number 23 are inspectors general, and inspectors general are probably the biggest um, federal law enforcement area, but they're also growing in terms of state and local um, agencies. And so there are two groups, the Association of Inspectors General and the IPSIG, um, that are really fantastic and really good to uh, kind of get a sense of what's going on. Things like, the Chicago Board of Education has their own, the Chicago Police Department has their own, the uh, the transit administrations, any of these kind of public entities that are spending lots of taxpayer dollars need to be accountable for it, and so they look to the IG to do that. And again, the IGs are looking at audits, they're looking at examinations of process, so of evaluations of procedure, efficiencies, but they're also looking at the traditional fraud investigations. So number 24 is, hey, your college or university. Imagine that. Internal audits. Again, another really good way to get experience. You don't even have to leave campus, probably. The Association of College and University Auditors is out there. You can look. You can also work for the security, the police department. That's what I did at my school, where I worked for the security office. And it was really good because I got a lot of exposure to different types of things, not necessarily in the fraud field, but again, it was more about dealing with people, dealing with difficult situations, writing reports of investigation that were thorough and accurate and well documented. So it was really, really great. Of course, you can also do particular academic research on areas. You can also do independent studies. I know some colleges and universities are getting to the point where they're having students under faculty guidance actually assist small businesses in preventing fraud or implementing internal controls or things like that. So again, you really get some hands-on experience, things you can actually put on your resume, and again, exposure to stuff that may take somebody 3 to 5 years to get experience. So my best advice is use the Career Center and your alumni office, because those are two critical areas. Get there early, make sure they know who you are, make sure they have a good impression of you. Work through them, work with them, help you brush up your resume, things like that. Really, really great experience. I had a fantastic relationship with both, and it paid immense dividends throughout my college career. So kind of 25 is really a catch-all. It's designed to be kind of a whatever else is out there. It's really only limited by your creativity and what you're looking for, and how willing you are to kind of try new things and get outside the box. So that is a great opportunity to kind of try something. The other thing that I find a lot of people have issues with is location. I was always of the mindset that I could travel for a summer. I lived in Washington D.C. For 2 summers. One, the first summer with just a regular apartment, and then the second summer I lived with some family members who were down there. So, but again, that willingness to kind of travel and kind of go beyond a little bit, it's not for everybody. I get that. So you have to kind of evaluate your personal situation and where you are, so that way you can kind of see how you're going to approach it. But absolutely use friends, family, build your network, join associations. A lot of associations now have student memberships, so absolutely look at those. It's a reduced rate usually, and it gives you a lot of the same benefits for what you're looking for. So I highly, highly recommend it. And also look at those professional associations of areas that you want to go to, either regionally or professionally. I've joined the Association of Certified Financial, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners when I was in college, and I'm still a member. And it's been just an amazing experience for me to have that networking ability, learning through magazines and newsletters, but also being able to develop different skills. So, use mentors, use LinkedIn. I mean, the technology is amazing right now. Even doing cold calls, it's a lot of people don't like to do it, but it's a great skill, and it will help you really understand that the concept of an elevator speech, which is, if I have 38 seconds to get you to like me and want to talk, then what am I going to say? So practicing that. Hey, I'm a student at blah blah blah, and I'm interested in X, and this is what I've been working on, that kind of thing. So those bullet points to help you. We call them informational interviews. That's a really good strategy as well. I want to learn more about your organization. I'm studying this in school. I'm really interested, and I want to see what's out there. So again, it's all limited by what you want to do and what you want to achieve from it. I also would strongly suggest considering writing, whether it's for blogs or reputable blogs, or professional publications. A lot of times you can turn your papers into the article. So it's not like you have to start from scratch. You have that kind of already there. It's a really good resource. So a couple other possibilities that I want to throw out there, and these have been more recent additions that I've kind of added as I've grown in my own career. But private investigators certainly may have some need for people with financial backgrounds or who are interested in white collar crime. And so you can also do nonprofit organizations are always looking for audits or things like that. I serve on the finance committee of my local church. So, you can do these things. Again, it's not paid, but it's a great experience. It's networking. It's given me a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge on things that I would never have come across in an investigation. So it's really a great idea. Again, religious associations or houses of worship. The other thing you could do is offer yourself to them as public speaking, doing things like fraud prevention or identity theft, things of that nature, so that you can, again, have some interaction and get your name out, get some good resume bullets. Another growing area is this idea of elder abuse, and there's starting to be a lot of elder abuse types of organizations that are out there. They do not just focus on the physical or the mental abuse, but financial exploitation of older Americans is probably one of the top issues with elder abuse, especially as the population really begins to age significantly. But then you can also do security companies. I mean, I mentioned that I did some shift work for my college, and again, it was really good for these types of things, reports and interviews. Working with the public, customer service is such a great skill. I always recommend everybody do at least some public interaction just to get that experience, especially if it's in a difficult circumstances, to put it mildly. So dealing with irate customers is a really useful skill. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple more just to again give you some ideas and hopefully help you think about these. again, some of these are very specific to certain areas, certain states, certain situations, but I want you to think about it in really kind of a broader picture. So, for example, the City of New York has the Business Integrity Commission that was set up essentially to police organized crime in the Fulton Fish Market, some of the other areas. It's expanded its jurisdictions somewhat since then, but at its core, it's again really about keeping the bad guys out. Um, and they're again primarily regulatory, but they do all financial investigations for the most part. Same with the New Jersey State Commission of Investigation, um, looking at fraud, waste, and abuse, and those kinds of things. The state fire marshal, ironically, um, arson for profit, right? People looking for financial gains. Um, Again, they don't have necessarily a lot of resources to devote to the financial aspect of it, so that may be a really good opportunity. And then you have things like the Attorney General we talked about, um, the state industrial commission. So sometimes there are inspection, people with the Department of Weights and Measures or agriculture or things like that. They're doing more regulatory compliance types of issues. But again, it's a great experience. You're really going to get a good sense of things. We didn't talk about the casinos or gaming control. With the growth of this, it is a growth industry. Lotteries, casinos, and things like that, charitable gaming, those are all really critical financial issues. So you'll probably find a lot of opportunity there as well. And again, all of these may be really good entry-level foots in the door where you start out as an intern and then maybe get it turned into something more permanent. So it's always a possibility, right? The Department of Corrections, I threw that up there because it's really interesting that there are a lot of concerns regarding internal investigations and corruption of corrections officers. So that might be an opportunity to explore. It may not be for everybody, but again, I want you to think about these things in a little bit different perspective than just the FBI and the IRS. Okay, so not that those are bad places, but there's so much out there, and again, it's about gaining those skills and kind of doing a step by step transition. Responsibility, increasing those skill levels and identifying the things that you can get and improve on. And then finally, the last one out there is the National Background Investigations Bureau, or NBIB. It is a division of the Office of Personnel Management. They hire entry-level background investigators, and you're really getting some fantastic experience interviewing people, reviewing documents, writing reports, doing the background investigations. And again, there are government positions, there are contractors, so there's all kinds of stuff that's out there if you just want to explore it. Okay, I promise this is the last one, but I want to give you some really potential areas to think about. So there are also the Bar Association looking at lawyers, and they have investigations and investigators as well in-house. For example, the State Bar of Florida has a very active enforcement and compliance group, and they have auditors, they have investigators, and again, they're looking for misconduct within that certain group of lawyers. Whether it's commingling funds, whether it's stealing, all these things are really important. So you can go to the Association of Bar Investigators and learn more and see what your state has and who to contact and let them know you're interested. You have welfare fraud investigators. You have insurance investigators. And then we didn't talk as much about, but there are government contractors who are great places to get your foot in the door. Litigation financial analysts, data analysts, records clerks, paralegals, legal assistants. record examiners, property custodian, financial analyst. So this is from a specific contractor who does a lot of work for the Justice Department, as well as the postal inspectors, the postal IG, and U.S. Marshals, and some others. So these are some of the job categories that are currently out there. So I don't want to put their name out there because these contracts change pretty constantly. But if you search for the government contracts that have been approved, you will find kind of who is doing the hiring. And then again, once you get on, it's a lot easier to get in the door. And again, you'll get some fantastic experience. So my last thought about it is, today, with everything being digital, you really have to have some computer experience, some digital forensics. That's why I love Stevenson, because I think it really does a great job of kind of melding the two. And if you can set yourself apart by having that that other people don't have, that is a huge benefit. And it's not that hard. I mean, if I could do it, anybody can do it, quite frankly. But, doing some of the coursework, doing whether it's, the masters or a couple courses, add on here and there, it's fantastic. You can really up your game by being able to show that you have some training and experience in the technology piece of it, because that's where everything is these days. So usajobs.gov is the official federal government website. There's state government websites as well. A lot of associations have those career job boards that you can post your resume to, but also search. We talked about the discounted membership for students to certain associations. Take a look at those. And again, you're looking at learning and networking and engaging with people who are doing the work. You want to be able to look at how people do their jobs and how they do it well. But ask questions, kind of be inquisitive. And one thing I did not do that I really wish I did now was keep a journal of my experiences, and that way I could kind of reflect on things and put pieces together in terms of the financial investigation, the fraud investigation, the legal elements, things like that. It would have all been really, really good to see, and to track that. So I leave you with this thought, finally, that we all had to start somewhere. We all start at the bottom. We can't, be top dog off the charts. Your education, this Stevenson degree program, is really about investing in yourself. The things that you want to do are only limited by how you want to approach that. And so I say, look to your future, but think about how you can get there in an incremental steps, and look at the experiences that you need, look at what you have already, and then use that as your guide going forward. So I wish you the best of luck, and if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to post them on the discussion board, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.